live here with Bayut. Find real and authentic properties using TrueCheck. Download the app or visit Bayut.com.
Yeah, download the Bayut app now, or of course you can visit at Bayut.com. And it is this time that we catch up with our friends at Dubizzle and Bayut. Fibha Ahmed has been kind enough to join us live in studio. Fibha is the Director of Sales at Dubizzle and Bayut. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad, battling the summer weather out there at the moment. Things are certainly hotting up when it comes to the weather conditions. Things still pretty hot on the property markets out there?
Things very hot at the property market. May has almost reached the same levels in terms of transaction volume as compared to March, which was claimed by many of our friends in real estate as the top performing month in a decade or so. So things are heating up.
Things are heating up. The temperature remains high. So who's fueling that temperature at the moment? When it comes to property purchases here in Dubai, we know that it's a very international market that looks to Dubai for investment as well. What's your data telling you with regards to who's buying property here?
That's a very fair question. We do see a lot of top-line numbers, and they're massive. People are comparing it to the boom that we saw in 2013, 2014. Last year, we saw nearly around 68% transactions were made by foreign investors. We see headlines made by people coming in from Russia. Then we saw people coming in from Europe, India. And this year, there are a lot of projections around Chinese investors coming back to the market as soon as their borders have opened up earlier on this year. And the UAE is on the list of countries where Chinese could travel to. There is a lot of anticipation in the market. Chinese have actually made it to the top 10 nationalities already so far in this year. If you pick up the data for the rental market, the Chinese percentage of tenants have gone up to 23% in the first 4 months of this year, as compared to 13% in the last 4 months of last year. So there is a keen interest from that side. Indians are coming up again. We know that they've always been very active in the property market. That place was taken up by the Europeans and the Russians last year. And so far this year, the trend is heavily towards the same nationalities. You see Russians, Indians, Europeans, and then Chinese coming to the list.
It's really interesting you mentioned that because, again, what are we reporting in our headlines this morning? Those latest IATA numbers, the Dubai tourism numbers also coming out at the moment. 6 million tourists between January and April. India top of that list, Russia second, UK third as well. The other name that you haven't mentioned, which isn't on that list, but you've already mentioned China. And again, it just, we're celebrating the fact that the property market is so buoyant at the moment, and yet we've not factored in the return of Chinese tourists and Chinese investment. A great statistic I had over the weekend, that one of the problems during COVID and the significant lockdowns in China was that 64% of Chinese residents' passports expired during COVID, and they couldn't get them renewed because the passport offices were closed. And so it takes a bit of time for them to get their passports back. Once those passports are returned, we could see a massive influx.
We have already started seeing that in the numbers. Earlier on this year, we had companies reporting that the total number of transactions made by Chinese has exceeded by like 100% or more than what they saw in the last 2 years. Now, we're still waiting for all those Chinese to come to their favorite property market in this Middle East part of the world. However, people who bought previously, pre-pandemic, they held on to those properties, and now they're looking to upgrade. We ourselves at Bayut are very mindful of the fact that once that market completely opens up, Dubai has always been a very favored spot for these guys to invest. We've recently launched our Chinese version of the website because we firmly believe that given the scope of population and the interest, where 74% of the people put their savings in real estate, and given the fact that they've been put in a lockdown and they didn't have the luxury to travel, they're making way, and they want to make this not only a holiday home, but bring up their families here, send their kids to school. open up businesses. So that's a very keen and a very active segment that is yet to show its full force in this year.
It's interesting, given, of course, Bayut's investment into tech and data for many, many years now, and that data be able to sort of not only show and back up these trends, if you like, but also pre-predict. Interested to know about the trends for 23, because we're at the halfway point, aren't we, in 2023. Obviously, we had our predictions of what the year was going to look like. Have they lived up to those expectations up to now? What trends are you seeing develop?
I would say that the expectations have fairly been met.
Yeah.
We have seen a massive increase in terms of volume as well as value of transactions. We've seen that people are favoring all segments of property investment. One segment that has really made the headlines this year, or rather broken the headlines, is the luxury segment. So we continue to predict or see that there's going to be a very strong interest in the luxury segment. The high net worth individuals really prefer this area because of the safe haven status, the safety, the ease of doing business. We would also see a lot of mid-segment market moving as renters are looking to buy their first home. Then we have the international investors, where we just recently heard that JA, the Palm, is going to get active again. I think that is going to gather a lot of interest and momentum. Every 2 weeks, we see the highest and the most expensive property sold or a plot of sand. So I think this trend is going to continue well towards the end of this year as well.
Are there very different things? We talk a lot about the international buyers, don't we, and the profile on them. And of course, there's a huge profile of local buyers here as well. Are there different sort of demands and needs between the two?
Absolutely. I think the local investors are well informed. They're very set in their ways. Their requirements are different. Their requirements are more based on where the work is, where the kids are going to go to school, the proximity, the amenities, the lifestyle, the space. They are not shying away from moving out of the main city, moving towards suburbs just for a better lifestyle and more space. International investors are very savvy. They're towards the central areas. Their interest lies in the Palm, the downtown, and the business hub, Business Bay Area, DIFC. They want to stay in the middle of the city. They look at the rental yields. They look at supply versus demand, see what kind of individuals are moving here. So I would say the international investors are very, very focused towards the rental yields and price appreciation, whereas the local investors are more long-term and ease of living and space.
Phil, we're going to leave it there, out of time on this occasion, but can't thank you enough for joining us live here in the studio. Thanks so much indeed for your time, and I'll definitely be catching up very soon with Fibha Ahmed, the Director of Sales at Dubizzle and Bayut, as things continue to boom in the property market. Fibha, thank you.